Pour yourself a cold one.
Let's drink them, huh?
And listen to Ross Tucker break down the top college prospects on another tasty edition of The College Draft.
Yeah, it's Daddy Soda time here on the College Draft Podcast, presented always by DraftKings. I'm Ross Tucker, former NFL offensive lineman. Most of you know that by now. 5 teams, 7 years. You can get at me, as the kids say, on social media at Ross Tucker NFL. I mean, I'm on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. You got to be on one of those. Whichever one you're on, follow me, please, at Ross Tucker NFL. Ross Tucker Pod is on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and should be followed by you guys as well. There are some opportunities we'll get to a little bit later in the show for getting a chance to be in a fantasy football draft this month with me and my boy Joe Dolan from the Fantasy Feast podcast. My boy on this show is Emory Hunt, has been for a while now. I don't even know what league he was tweeting about yesterday, at FBall Game Plan on Twitter, Football Game Plan on YouTube. And, of course, you can still get the draft guide. You're going to want it, really, for the preseason games. If we're being honest, you're going to want his draft guide because the preseason games ends up being a lot of rookies and a lot of people you don't know a lot about. Emory does. Footballgameplan.com/2023 draft guide. We are done with the NFC. So if you just found the show somehow, some way, that's great. You're going to love it. It's 3 podcasts in one. We go over the top prospects for the NFL draft. We talk college football, and we even make our picks and prognostications with the bets during the season. I don't think I pronounced prognostication really well right there, but we're not going to cut that clip. We're going to keep moving forward. So we got the AFC South next week, AFC East today. I actually have 2 things before I even ask you about the Bills draft picks, Emory. Number one, what was that league you were tweeting about yesterday? And do we have any idea how much those guys get paid?
Right. It's the European League of Football. It's their 3rd season. They kicked off this past weekend. They have some of the old NFL Europe properties. So that's why you see Ryan Fire, Frankfurt Galaxy, Hamburg Sea Devils, Berlin Thunder, and teams like that. But they've done a great job in building their own homegrown league. About 90 to 93% of the league is all European-born players because there's a limit on how many American-born players are on each roster. I think 4 is a max on each roster. Don't know how much they get paid, but I think if you're an import, so a guy coming from America, you do have a housing stipend, if not free housing, and also on top of that, a salary. So it's a good opportunity for guys that are still wanting to play ball, and they're grown to 17 teams now. They just announced expansion into 2 other markets for next year, and they're going to announce more. So they're going to get up to 24. So I'm waiting for the London Monarchs to return and some other teams, but they're trying to expand even more so make it a full-fledged 24-team European league. So it's done a great job so far.
So it's not just Germany.
No. It's not Germany. Matter of fact, they announced that first of all, Barcelona is already there, the Barcelona Dragons. They also announced another team in Spain, Madrid, that'll start playing next year. So there's teams in Spain, a team in Italy playing this year, the Milan Seamen. There's also more. There's a lot of teams in Germany, but there's also some, outside of that as well. Turkey was a team last year that they have to, had to leave because of financial issues, but they're looking to get back into Turkey. And they're also trying to get into Ireland and also the UK, which is huge. Paris was another one that started this year too, the Musketeers. So you gotta love that. And I've been watching it for 2 years, so I know a little bit about the league and a little bit about some of the players. Michael Sam played in that league last year, did a great job, had double-digit sacks last year for Barcelona. And there are some guys that I think can play over here in the States. And a lot of these guys end up in the International Pathway Program for the NFL.
I love, first of all, that it's expanding and that there's more room for people to play football, continue to play after college, to potentially get some money for it. And then also I love that more international folks, 90 to 93% or whatever, are getting a chance to play what I know you feel is the best sport in the world. I remember I read a book called like Playing for Pizza a while ago about like a quarterback in Italy that his NFL career, pro career hadn't gone how he wanted. So next thing he knows, he's like the quarterback in for an Italian team. But after the games, they're getting pizza and beer, and he was having fun playing football again, which is very, very cool. So it's interesting because I already did the Ross Tucker football podcast this morning, Emory, talking about my head coach rankings, which are really hard to do. There's a lot of good coaches in the NFL. A lot of people aren't real happy with my rankings, but I've come to the realization, Emory, you've probably known this for a while. People aren't real happy with any rankings because they always just find one guy higher than the guy they like that they target and come up with reasons why their guy should be higher than that guy, which is a fool's errand, by the way, because I could do the same thing. I could come up with a counter argument for why the guy at 18 could be higher than the guy at 12. That's so stupid. Let me see, make up your own list and then come back to me is what I like to say to people. But right after we finished recording, the Bills signed Leonard Floyd. And I've seen you are all over the Giants OTAs. We'll have teams with mini camps. It's interesting for the Bills to sign Leonard Floyd. I mean, you look at them, Emory, they've got Rousseau. They've got Von Miller. They got A.J. Epinesa. They got Shaq Lawson. They got Boogie Basham. They even have Shane Ray trying to come back after 4 years away. And yet they still felt like we need one more. We need one more guy. That doesn't bode well for somebody. I don't know who it is, but it doesn't bode well for one of the 5 guys I just named.
Especially, yeah, right, because he's an edge guy, technically, an outside linebacker. Gives them something that they lost with Tremaine Edmonds, not necessarily playing the same position, but the length. They had so much length at the second level with Edmonds. He was 6'4", 245, 250, and Floyd gives them a little bit of that with the ability to rush the passer. So I feel like they want to get a little bit more longer, still have more of a pass rushing presence because you got Boogie Basham, you got Epinesa, you got Lawson, you got Russo, you got guys like Miller that can get to the quarterback. And so adding Floyd puts a lot of pressure on one of those back end guys. Like, who is injured right now that they don't see, he may not be ready for the season, or who is someone that maybe is a young player that they are disappointed in? Because otherwise, why bring in a veteran to not give that younger guy another chance to really show themselves or get out there on the field? So I think this is a read between the lines situation because you don't bring in a Leonard Floyd and expect him to just be a backup.
Nope. So let's get to some of the guys they drafted. We've already talked a lot about Dalton Kincaid. We went over the first round the Monday after the draft ended, but now we're doing the rest of the picks for each team. And Emory always has an undrafted free agent or two that he wants to shine some light on. Let's start with their day 2 guys, which I thought was interesting. Osiris Torrance, a big guard. Now they have Ryan Bates. They got Connor McGovern in free agency. They got 2 Penn State kids, but they get your boy Osiris Torrance at guard in the second round. And then the third round, Dorian Williams. And he kind of reminds me body type wise, the way he plays, a little bit of Milano, Matt Milano, that type of player. So maybe they decided, yeah, we're losing Tremaine Edmonds, that size, but let's just have 2 Matt Milano types. He keeps doing pretty well for us.
And Milano is someone that does a great job in pass coverage, which is why he's always on the field. And Williams is another one that excels in pass coverage, which is why they went out and got him. And when you look at that 2-lane defense, he was one that was consistently making plays in the middle. He's also a very good blitzer. I think he gives him a little bit more upside in coverage than Tremaine Edmonds did, which is why they were, willing to let him walk in free agency. And Osiris Torrance, I think, is a plug-and-play guy. It's just going to be which side of the offensive line he's going to start on. Is he going to start left guard? Is he going to start at right guard? But he's starting when this season starts because he's a rock-solid player. Could do a great job in helping them spearhead a run game that hasn't been, what you want it to be, and which is a big part of the reason why I thought they haven't been able to close out these playoff games because they can't run the football consistently or when they want to. Osiris Torrance changes that.
Let's get to their next 3 picks, Emory. 5th round, Justin Shorter, the wide receiver from Florida. Man, I remember watching his junior high school video. He was really impressive. You want to talk about height, weight, speed as a high school player. And then they had 2 7th-round picks. Nick, I don't know, is it Broker from the guard from Ole Miss and Alex Austin, a corner from Oregon State?
My favorite out the three is Alex Austin. This is someone, again, sight unseen program, Oregon State, long, athletic, fits the mold of what they already have in that secondary. 6'1", 195, tremendous talent at corner. That secondary for Oregon State was outstanding last year, and I think this is someone that can come in and kind of give them what they got last year from Benford, what they drafted in Elam, who was my number one corner last year. They got another guy that can help them out right away, in my opinion. I know he's going to be a core special team from day one. Shorter is always going to be the height, weight, speed guy, but you want to see the consistency show itself more so at the pro level. And I think that's an area where he has to work on. An offensive lineman, Nick Broker, Ole Miss has done a solid job in developing their offensive linemen, guys that can play guard and or tackle. And so I think Broker is someone that can kind of fit that mold. So they want to build depth along that offensive line, which was why they doubled down on it in the draft.
Who jumped out to you out of their undrafted guys, Emory?
Isaiah Bowser of UCF, the running back. I just like the way he runs, man. I think he has a good feel for the inside run game. He is different from what they have on the roster. Maybe he's more along the lines of, Latavius Murray or Damian Harris. He's an inside runner type guy. I think he's vastly underrated in what he can do catching the ball in the backfield and was kind of that pace setter for UCF in their run game. So I like Bowser. I think he has a good chance to really shine during preseason.
Tell you the other thing that's very underrated, and that is getting people a good gift for your anniversary or getting dad a good gift for Father's Day. Make sure you check out myfrontpagestory.com. By far the best Father's Day gift I've ever seen. Everybody's dad loves the newspaper. Get him the front cover treatment story that he deserves. myfrontpagestory.com. All right, Emory, let's dive into the Miami Dolphins now. We already talked about the fact they didn't have a first-round pick, thanks to Tom Brady. Tom Brady giving the Dolphins the business again, although the Dolphins have nobody to blame but themselves for that. Really curious on these next two guys, Emory, because they both have a lot of ability. Round 2, they took the corner from South Carolina, Cam Smith, and round 3, they took the speed demon from Texas A&M. This guy might already have the most hype out of any rookie in OTAs so far. Devon Achane, the running back from A&M.
Yeah, he is someone that fits their offense, perfectly. They already have a good stable of backs with some speed, but they can't stay healthy. Now you add someone with legitimate track and Olympic type speed, and it's going to be bananas in terms of Achane and how well he can really hit the hole and go. And so when you have that much speed on an offense that already has far too much speed than the law allows, it's going to make these guys so much more dynamic on offense. And when you factor in a healthy Tua, and now they're going to have the run game that has the element of hitting the home run like their passing game does with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, it's going to be fun to watch. And then you think about Cam Smith. Someone can see him ideally playing safety or corner. He gives them another long press guy that can mirror and match rather well. Very good secondary at South Carolina. So for me, two outstanding picks right there with Smith and Achane.
6th round, they took Elijah Higgins, a wide receiver from Stanford. We talked about Michael Wilson from Stanford last week. And then 7th round, Ryan Hayes, offensive tackle from Michigan.
Yeah, Hayes is someone that was really good on tape, man. And again, you talk about one of the better offensive lines in football, and you bring up Michigan and what they've been able to do running the ball and helping protect the quarterback. He is along the lines of someone that can help them out from a depth perspective, and I think that's going to be good for them. And when you think about, what happened last year when guys got injured, when guys got hurt, they had some issues up front, and Higgins gives them almost like a stretch inside receiver with them. He's probably going to be a tight end, but someone that can be that I don't want to say he's a one-to-one, but gives them a little bit what they had in Gesicki, someone that can just line up outside and be above the rim type guy, red zone threat. And I think that's going to be his role.
Your thoughts on their top undrafted guy, Emory, or at least somebody that stood out to you?
They usually do a fantastic job in an undrafted free agent market, man. They have a bunch of guys, but I'm gonna, James Blackman stood out to me at the College Gridiron Showcase, the quarterback from Florida State and also Arkansas State. I thought he threw the football rather well. Has a chance to stick on the practice squad as their QB4. And when you think about Aubrey Miller from Jackson State, I thought he should have been drafted. He's a dynamo of a hitter, a thumper, but could be a core special team. I think he's going to make that football team. Keidron Smith out of Kentucky can play corner or safety, gives him a lot of versatility. They got him as an undrafted free agent as well. And Zeke Vandenberg out of Illinois State, long, athletic edge setter, kind of the same body type of what they have in Van Ginkel out there as well on the edge, and Andrew Van Ginkel. So he can play with his hand in the dirt or off the ground, but definitely someone that has a length athleticism that you look for.
So neither one of those teams had a whole lot of picks, Emory, but the Patriots did. And so they made up for it. Day two, remember round one, they took Christian Gonzalez. I'm still surprised Gonzalez. They were able to trade down with the Steelers to 17 and get Gonzalez. I think most people thought he would go top 10. Round two, they took Keon White, the edge rusher from Georgia Tech. And round three, this might have been your most talked about guy last season, Marty Mapu, the linebacker from Sac State. You loved him before the season last year, all through the process. I didn't hear a lot of people talking about him until you started talking about him, Emory.
Because no one goes out there and talks about the FCS until they get to the Senior Bowl. By then, the work is already done. Like, so you got to get to the NFLPA Bowl. You got to get to these FCS games. You got to take pride in your craft and start digging deep and finding these small school gems. Marte Mapu is someone that could play across the secondary. He could play safety. He could play, down in the box as a linebacker. He gives them a lot of what they had in Kyle Duggar or what they have in Kyle Duggar. You want to have some matchup pieces on defense. He's an outstanding matchup piece. And Keon White is someone that's still growing in the position. We talked about how he has, played different positions and still learning defensive end. Good, strong point of attack guy, edge setter, gives them a lot of depth there as an edge rusher. They still need to get better at rushing the passer. I think White gives them an opportunity to do so.
Round four, they took Jake Andrews, a center from Troy, Chad Ryland, who is from near where I'm from, but also went to Eastern Michigan before transferring to Maryland. Then they took City Sal from Eastern Michigan in the fourth round.
City Sal is someone that is unique. He caught my attention at the NFLPA Bowl again. And what's fascinating about him, he's a top CFL prospect because he's Canadian. And so he was drafted in the CFL as well. But he was outstanding at the NFLPA game. Then when you go and watch him on film, okay, I can see some crossover between guard and tackle. It depends on where they're going to play him. They're going to play him at guard, I feel like, in New England. I thought that was a steal in round four. Andrews, coming from the Sun Best Conference, and was a rock solid player in the middle for Troy. They were one of the best offenses in the Sun Belt Conference, and so he did a great job there, giving them good depth on the inside. And Mafi, another big time guard, big time mauler in the middle. So they really solved that interior depth question with three rookies that I think is going to generate a lot of buzz in the preseason.
Then we move on to round six. Kayshon Boutte is a guy that Greg Cosell talked quite a bit about on the Ross Tucker Football Podcast when we were talking about what these teams have done in the AFC East with our season preview. Then they took a punter from Michigan State. They took a kicker and a punter in the same draft. I'll let you just discuss that. Never. Demario Douglas, wide receiver, Liberty. Amir Speed, DB, Michigan State. And then Isaiah Bolden from Jackson State University.
Well, we know the Patriots are at the NFLPA Bowl because Amir Speed and Isaiah Bolden both were there and both had really good weeks of work too. Speed has supreme length. I think he's 6'3", 200 pounds, and does a great job using that length to his advantage. Just got to be a little bit more consistent in his approach. And Bolden, I thought, had the best week of any corner out there at the NFLPA Bowl. Good length, good athleticism. He legitimately can play any position in the secondary because he's so versatile and also is a dynamic kickoff and punt returner. So he's a core special teamer that can help right away. Boutte, we talked about ad nauseum. It's a body language about him. The talent is there. You want to see more consistency. He goes to a great spot where they can get that out of him right away and more consistent than what he showed his last season at LSU. And Douglas, I thought, had a really good week of work throughout the course of the All-Star game circuit and also on tape at Liberty. Quick in and out of his break, can create separation, can find himself open pretty quickly.
It's interesting with all those draft choices. I wonder how many undrafted guys they even got, and if anybody caught your eye.
There's two that really stood out. Malik Cunningham, quarterback at Louisville, great athlete, had arguably one of the better deep balls in the draft class and was consistent in hitting the deep ball. And I know he's getting some crossover work there, like some route running, quarterback. But right now, I think he's their QB4, could even be their QB3. I think that's something to watch over the course of the preseason. And Johnny Lumpkin of the University of Louisiana, I thought people at the NFLPA Bowl was shocked at how well he caught the football because he was much of a blocker at UL. He gets out there and he's running routes. He's winning at the top of his route. He's creating separation, and he caught the ball well. So now you get a guy that's a dynamic blocker for the run game, but was surprisingly good and consistent at catching the football. Again, we know the Patriots were at the NFLPA Bowl. This roster is littered with guys that were down there at that event in Pasadena.
Let's get to the Jets. Obviously, a lot of conversation around their first-round pick, Will McDonald, the fourth. But then they went back-to-back O-linemen, Emory. Joe Tippmann, the center from Wisconsin, in round 2. Carter Warren, the tackle from Pitt, in round 4.
I like Carter Warren. And Pitt had a really solid team, a lot of good prospects. So I watched a lot of Pitt throughout the process. Warren is someone that can definitely fill that void of being a left tackle and gives them good depth there as well. You talk about in round what? Round
4, yeah.
Who do they take?
Carter Warren in round 4. Round 2, they got Joe Tippmann from Wisconsin.
Tippmann is someone that's athletic on the move. I couldn't remember who else we mentioned, but Tippmann was someone that's at center. When you're able to get out and around on pulling plays and long traps and things of that nature, your offense is open. It expands. And so having someone that's athletic like that to get out and about, and it can help you move the pocket, which we know Aaron Rodgers loves to do. You got a center out that's capable of doing that and blocking well in space. He's going to be a plug-and-play start. I thought that was a great pick by them because he fits what they want to do in the quarterback that they have.
Their last 4 picks, Israel Abanikanda, the running back from Pitt in round 5. Curious to get your thoughts there as a running back guy. Zaire Barnes, linebacker from Western Michigan in round 6. Jarek Bernard Converse, a corner from LSU in round 6. And then Zach Kuntz, tight end from Old Dominion. It's fun when they draft guys I've seen. I did several Zaire Barnes games, and then Kuntz I saw play basketball like in 10th grade in high school. Your thoughts on those 4?
Yeah, Kuntz is long as all outside, man. He is like legit 6'7". So he gives them some height at the position and also is a good athlete, so he can really get vertical. So it gives you someone that you can see down the seam, literally and figuratively. But I like the fact that he was still there available for them to grab and continue to stockpile talent around Aaron Rodgers. Zaire Barnes, good athlete, good pressure player, good mover in space, all of those things you want to see from a weak side linebacker. He fits that mold. Jarek Bernard Converse transferred to LSU, came from, I want to say, Oklahoma State, and was a really good player there and was also a good player at LSU. Gives them what Robert Saleh likes at the position: length, athleticism, and ability to cover. So when you think about adding Abanikanda from Pitt, I think he's an underrated kickoff returner. He has great explosiveness and acceleration. How healthy is Breece Hall? We are seeing video clips of him, doing some side cutting and agility cutting. That's good. They don't have to rush him back because I think Abanikanda can step in and pair up with a Michael Carter and do really well as a rookie. But at worst, he could be their kickoff return because he's so good and explosive and has underrated acceleration. It's rare to see the acceleration from a football player. You could see him pull away from guys when he gets a step.
Quickly, Emory, an undrafted guy?
There's a bunch, man. Jerome Camp out of Kutztown, saw him all throughout the All-Star game.
Yeah.
He was awesome, man. He's a big receiver that could play inside or outside. Jason Brownlee from Southern Miss, fantastic receiver as well. Xavier Gibson out of Stephen F. Austin was another outstanding receiver all throughout the All-Star game circuit. You look at running back Travis Dye. Had he not gotten injured, he would have been a draft pick, in my opinion. Isaiah Gathings, I called one of his games when he was at Gardner-Webb, transferred to Middle Tennessee. He's more of an inside type guy, so keep an eye on him. Malik Hall, I didn't have a grade on, because I just forgot, but I saw him play at Southeastern Oklahoma. He was also down at the Tropical Bowl, had a really good week of work there. Caleb Johnson, another very good undrafted free agent. So for me, and Trey Dean, we talked about him before, Shrine game, great leadership skills, can play either corner or safety, tremendous upside. He's gone to a great situation.
AFC South next week. Get excited. The keg is kicked. We're all tapped out.
Thanks for listening to the College Draft Podcast. Make sure to also subscribe to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, Fantasy Feast, Even Money, and The Business of Sports. All available at Apple Podcasts, rosstucker.com, or wherever podcasts can be found.